So I've recently been thinking about what the energetics are. What are the components that actually create your dream life? I was reflecting on this when we were away for our wedding and our honeymoon, because I think if you're a long-time listener of the podcast, you have gotten to the place where you understand that, journaling and meditating and vibes are 100% part of manifesting your dream life. But what's also part of manifesting your dream life is so many other pieces, like so many action orientated things, so much about the embodiment, and not just like the embodiment of, be the dream version of yourself. How would she show up? How would she talk? How would she dress? But it's like more than that, right? So it's, for example, like, how does she engage with somebody that is disrespecting her? Like, that is showing up as her. And there's a term that some of you would know. I created this term called embodied manifestation. It's basically what I figured out, how do I describe it? It's like, to me, embodied manifestation is what creates easy manifestation. It's what allows you to feel like you can just manifest something in the blink of an eye. Your words become your spells. And so embodied manifestation is that act of literally embodying, like you are living out, you are acting as though you already have that thing, but with way more depth. It's not just dressing how she would dress and talking how she would talk, but it's actually going way beyond that. It's what does she have for dinner? It's how does she look after herself? How does she nourish her body? But not then doing it from a place of, well, I just want to be her. It's also like, this is the most aligned version of myself. It's really acting from the most aligned version of you, even if it doesn't make sense. So I was thinking about my journey of like, how have I gotten here? I feel like I've lived multiple lives in the sense of I manifested my dream life 3 years ago. And then obviously I got my dream life. And then of course, once you're there, your then dream life expands, right? So one of my biggest dreams was always living in New York and having like the dream New York apartment. If you followed me in New York, you would know my apartment. If you didn't follow me in New York, I actually have it's a little bit old, but I have a tour of my apartment in New York that you can watch. It was like the floor to ceiling glass windows, just like every person's dream, well, most people's dream of where they would like to live in New York City. It was in the Jenga building, and the biggest part of the manifestation that just still to this day, I'm like, how? And I did the exact same thing with buying our house that we live in now in Atlanta, is I got that apartment with no SSN, no credit history. I'm not a permanent resident. Well, actually, I think I am. I'm like a semi-permanent resident. I can't remember the exact terminology, but anyway, at that point, I didn't even have my like O1B permanent visa. And I still managed to get into one of the hardest buildings to get into in New York. And if you know the real estate situation in New York, it's like you have to get all of these like letters written for you to like move into a building, whatever. And so like that was the dream. And I got that. And then of course you get that and you're like, all right, now you're living it out, you're enjoying it. And then I met Pal, now husband. And then of course my dream changed and evolved. And like that's what happens. And so my point is that when it comes to like embodied manifestation, what got me to like even what I thought was my dream life, and then that evolved and it evolved again, wasn't just acting as her, eating as her, dressing as her. It was also doing the hard things. So when I think about what even got me to that apartment in New York, it was like hard shit. It was, for example, I grew up in New York, but then we moved to Australia. Then I moved back to New York when I was maybe 20 or 21. And so I moved in 2019. I left Sydney and I moved there. And like, that's fucking nerve wracking. I'm moving to the other side of the world. Yeah, I knew a few people in New York, but it wasn't like I had like a bunch of friends there. And obviously New York is like a pretty intense city and you need a lot of money to actually be able to live there. And so there was a lot of writing on that. That happened. Then COVID happened. And even though every single person said to me, you have to go back to Australia, like, I did the thing. I went against the advice that was being given and I went to London instead. I was like, I am not going back to Australia, not because Australia is bad or anything, but because I was like, I know I will get stuck there if I go back there. So I went to London. I'm a British citizen, so that was easy for me. I have a passport. So I went to London and then I lived there and that was a really hard year, but I like evolved as a person in so many ways. And we often think manifestation is just the high vibe, the lights, the unicorns, the love and light, the like, oh my God, everything's fucking amazing. We often have that picture of what manifestation is. But part of creating your dream life and manifesting is also the crumbling. It's also the hard shit. It's also that year where you are like, how am I going to get through this? You are manifesting. It's just not how we want it to look. And so anyway, then I had that. Then when I was living in London, again, against all advice, against all like government advice, I left London, got on a plane, went to the airport, like, oh my God, everyone's going to die. Like it was actually completely fine. Got on a plane and then went to Tulum in Mexico, as did everybody, as my way of getting back into the US. I did that with Jelly, like with my dog. And that's how I then got myself to then have my dream at that time. And that's still part of my dream. Like, I'm so glad, like that wasn't what I thought was a manifestation where when I got it, I didn't want it. Like, no, that was 100% my dream life at that point in time. What we have to remember is like our dream life and what we want obviously evolves as we grow and as we age. But the journey of getting there was not just journaling and manifesting. That was one part of it, but the embodiment was actually a really cool part of it, and not just the embodiment of dressing and the mindset and what does she eat and how does she walk. All of that is very important, but it's also what I figured out as these 7 pillars. So when I was away for these 6 weeks reflecting at our wedding and our honeymoon and whatever, and I was reflecting on like, what has gotten me here? And I was reflecting on all my clients that have recently emailed me and just been like, oh my God, Monica, like I'm living out my dreams, all of like a long list of all the things that have happened, the ups, the downs, everything since doing all this healing work and this embodiment and this integration and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, what gets people really to have their dream life? Because it isn't just this kind of like cookie cutter law of attraction, law of action, like the general manifestation advice. And I've come up with these 7 pillars, and the 7 pillars I'm actually going to be going into in a upcoming new free masterclass that I'm running. It'll be the last one for the year. It is perfect timing with obviously everyone being like crunch time, end of the year, shit, got to get my manifestations together. Like, what haven't I achieved this year? I'm going to be going through every one of the 7 pillars in that free masterclass. Plus, I'm going to be talking about how feminine embodiment is a really core component to magnetizing in your dream life and a lot more. So you guys can get the details and sign up for that with the link in the podcast description. But, you know, these, for example, like one of these pillars is boundaries and self-respect. Because often when we think of, oh, I want to manifest something, we don't think of boundaries in that sense, but it's this flow-on effect of when a woman has self-respect, when she's not people-pleasing, that removes all of this bitterness and resentment and stress from her and fawn response from her nervous system. And just think about that for you. If you removed like bitterness and stress and resentment and like ickiness that you have towards people and even yourself for a lack of, you know, boundaries and self-respect, how would that shift your vibrational frequency? How would that open up your mind? How would that mean that you spend less energy bitching about other people and what they've done to you, and you spend more energy like finding solutions and getting yourself there? Because what we have to remember is like our body and our system and our nervous system, that influences our thoughts, and obviously vice versa. And that then influences our reticular activating system, which then influences what we actually call into our life. So our reticular activating system is basically this filter system in our brain, if you haven't heard of it before. And so essentially what you're focusing on, you will then filter in and you'll see more of it. And what you aren't focusing on, you then won't see. The usual example is you've never seen this car before. Now you're going to go buy this car. Like, oh my God, I've never seen this before. And now everybody has the car. The car was always there. Everybody already had the car. It's not like everybody went and bought the same car on the same day as you. It's just that car was never something that you deemed as important to your brain. So you just weren't seeing it because there's too much stuff for us to actually see every day. So we are purposely ignoring shit essentially and not seeing these things. And so what that means then is if we're not living in this state of like high vibrational frequency of inner peace, of like equilibrium in our body, of nervous system regulation, of feminine leadership, if we're not as women living in that place, and men, you're living in that place, but not feminine leadership, actually more masculine leadership, right? That's your alignment. When we are living in that place, we then see more opportunities that are going to get us to the next level and going to get us to our higher self. And that's going to like cultivate the feelings that we want to feel in our life and the experience that we want to have in our life. But when we're focused on negative things, or when we are, maybe not even consciously aware of like how our lack of boundaries are affecting us, how our shitty health is affecting us, how, the disagreements in our relationship are affecting us, how our experience with dating is affecting us, all of those negative experiences that you're having in your life, by the way, they're human. So it's just about navigating them differently. All of those negative experiences are then meaning like that's something that you're actually focusing on. So more of that then comes into your awareness, and therefore you experience more of it. This is why, even just really quickly on the dating note, it's like if you're dating right now and you're finding that you're having a really bad dating experience, one of my tips to maybe consider is, are the dating apps serving you or not serving you? I'm not anti-dating apps, very neutral about them. What I want to help you be aware of is that for some people, the no, 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 like you're swiping and it's just no, no, no. What that's doing is your reticular activating system is literally just thinking, oh my God, there's no men out there. That is what you're thinking. Like, there are no catches. This is fucking hopeless. I'm going to be single with 8 cats for the rest of my life. Your brain goes there. So now what do you experience? A shitty dating experience, versus if you shifted the way that you were engaging in dating. So it's not just shifting your mindset. I think that's where things can get lost. We think creating our dream life, shift your mindset. Yeah, that's part of it. But your action, your embodiment, your integration, like the actual habits that you are doing, that is also so important as well. Friends, if you've been listening to the show for a while and you are loving it, or if you're a client of mine and you just want to leave some really nice words to just put the good energy out there, but also for the value exchange of the time that not just I put into every episode, but also that my team puts into every episode, I would be so grateful if you could literally take 35 seconds to pop down to the bottom of the iTunes app when you open the Feminine as Fuck, not when you're on a particular episode, but when you're seeing all the episodes listed out, scroll down to the bottom and you'll be able to see the reviews, and you can just click towards the right-hand side. It will say write a review. And if you could just leave a few sentences about what you love about the episode, or some words of wisdom so that other people know this is a podcast worth listening to, I would be so eternally grateful. It means the world to me. It's such a beautiful value exchange, and I do read every single one of them. So on that note of reticular activating system, one of the number one things people can miss with creating their dream life is clarity. Like, do you actually have clarity on what your dream life looks like? And remember, you are so allowed to have that change, but don't then not create clarity around your vision because you're like, what if it will change? That's going to change and evolve as you go. You still need clarity because that clarity creates direction. Without that direction, you're going to be going around and around in circles. You won't be taking action. You'll be missing out on that embodiment, and you just will not get it as quickly as you could. So don't worry too much about like, oh my God, this is set in stone. I can never change this. I have changed what I've wanted so many times in my life. I honestly have about 5 different lives I want to live all at once. So I'm going to make it happen. Like, I don't really know how it's going to happen. The how is not your problem, but it's going to happen, right? So there's one part of me that's like, I want to have like a huge property and horses and that massive veggie patch and like chickens and this beautiful house. But I also want to be having an apartment in New York for like when I'm in that vibe. And I want to have a mountain house and I want to live there during the winter. And Hal's like, hey babe, what about the horses during winter? I'm like, we'll figure that one out. Like, not the time to talk about logistics. Let's just dream right now. But nonetheless, it's like, is there clarity around your vision? Because if there's clarity on your vision, then you can then start to think about going backwards, what you need to create, what you need to achieve, what you need to have in order for that to happen. So, even in regards to clarity on your vision, if you're like, I don't have clarity, create Pinterest boards. Do research on houses that are available. What's out there? How much does it cost? How much money would you have to make? What would the down payment be on the mortgage? Like, getting really specific with those little things can actually be really great, because getting specific helps you to know where you're headed and what's required of you to actually do that. So clarity of your vision is really, really important. Of course, I said before, like, upgrade your mindset and get into the mindset of like the version of you that has this already. And let's not forget the importance of trauma healing. The reason why I make healing your trauma and your wounds and your fears and your beliefs and your programming and all of that, like the foundation of everything, is because without that trauma healing, you cannot create the life of your dreams. So I'm going to paint a metaphor for you. It's just the easiest way to kind of understand it. If you want to have the most beautiful bed of peonies, right? Like you're like, oh my God, all I want is this like stunning flower garden. Amazing. If your soil has no water, it's fucking dead. There's no nutrients in it. Like it's just literally the worst soil in the world. It's all like clayey, which is like, I don't know, terrible for peonies to grow in or something. Basically, the soil is not actually the environment in which peonies can thrive. When you plant those bulbs in, those peonies aren't going to come to life. Same thing with you. The foundation of manifestation, the foundation of creating the life of your dreams is the soil. Well, if your soil is disgusting and it's got nowhere, like no nutrients in it for your dreams to actually thrive, they're not going to happen. What depletes your soil is your fears, your negative programming, your trauma, your fawn response, your dysregulated nervous system. That is all the things that is stripping the soil of nutrients. So those peonies, aka your dream life, aren't actually thriving. Doesn't mean that you cannot start creating and taking action towards your dreams until you've done the trauma healing. That's not what I'm saying. Because that people can use that as self-sabotage too. So this really, as always, like comes down to, you got to call yourself out. You've got to know, where am I holding myself back from creating the life of my dreams? Because some people get into this idea of, I have to be perfect, which never will happen, before I get the relationship of my dreams, get the life of my dreams, get the job of my dreams. And that idea of like, oh, I still have more healing to do. I still have more healing to do. I still have more healing to do. Do you know what that does? It's actually a protective mechanism for them to not feel disappointed. If they go out on a date and the guy doesn't like them, they don't want to feel disappointed by not getting the job they interviewed for. They don't want to feel disappointed in themselves or like a failure because they've been manifesting this thing and it didn't come to life. They don't want to feel the failure. So instead of going out and trying, they actually protect themselves from taking action. So they take no action. And their excuse is, well, I have more trauma healing to do. Well, I have more trauma that I have to heal. Well, I have to fix this thing inside myself before I can go and do that. You don't. Because fundamentally, none of us are actually broken. It's just about understanding that your dream life will come to you with more ease. You will find it easier to manifest and to call in and to receive and to magnetize what you want if you don't have these beliefs of, I don't deserve this, I'm not enough. If you're a control freak, so you can't let go of control. If you don't know how to receive, so then you can't receive your manifestations. It's more those like logistical things, right? Where you will just notice in the process of doing all of these things that cultivate your dream life and these 7 pillars that we'll talk about on the masterclass, what you'll notice is like you can't fully embody those 7 pillars. And that's where you'll notice that it becomes harder to live out your dreams. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't start trying. It doesn't mean that maybe for you, your best first step is actually to do some embodiment, some integration. So you guys know I have if you don't, my framework is HER, H-E-R, right? Healing for H, E is embodiment, R is radiance. So the healing first is obviously you healing all of your shit. E for embodiment is basically after the healing, then you integrate, you take action and you embody everything from the healing. So it's compounding. And then after the embodiment, now you're radiating. And now it's easy to just receive your dream life and to radiate and magnetize everything into you. AKA you become her. What I'm saying is, for some people, because I've had clients like this before and most of the time people do benefit, like the vast majority of people benefit from doing healing work first. But there are a few cases where it's like what they have to heal or their armor around them is so strong, or what they have to heal is so scary, that actually it's easier for them to get to the healing by starting with embodiment. So they actually start with E first, and then they go back to H. Then they come back to E a little bit more because they're obviously embodying it in a much newer and deeper way. And then they go to R. What I'm saying is, you know yourself, you know what you need. There's no perfect linear route to healing and to having your dream life, but also call yourself out so you don't self-sabotage in creating your dream life. Because we're towards the end of the year, friends. Like we don't have time to just like sit back, relax, and like hope that our dream man is the fucking mailman and rocks up at our front door. Like we don't have time for that. Let's take some fucking action. The universe rewards those that take action. The universe rewards those that move quickly. right? And for those of you that want to condense time and quantum leap, you've got to start calling yourself out and you have to start doing the thing that scares you, because very often your quantum leap is literally inside of the thing that scares you the most. So I have trained myself where anything I don't want to do that I'm scared of, I have to go do it most of the time. Obviously, if my intuition is like, no, I'm not scared of it. My intuition is then saying no, right? But anything that I'm feeling resistant to, my ego is like scared of it or like giving me all the reasons why I shouldn't do it. I'm going to do that thing because I know that my quantum leap is inside of that. And your ego doesn't support you in going towards your quantum leap. Your ego is keeping you in your comfort zone. And when you're quantum leaping, oh my God, you are going so far out of your comfort zone. There, like the comfort zone doesn't exist anymore, right? You are just like exploding yourself in the best way, because a quantum leap is not linear. You are condensing time, as in what would take somebody a year to achieve, it's taking you a month to achieve. So the other thing that's really important on that note with quantum leaping for creating your dream life is expanding your energy. This is something that I have been noticing myself and noticing also with other people and with clients and just other people that I am meeting at events that I'm going to, is get in the fucking room. And what I mean by that is I think that from COVID and lockdowns, a lot of us just went into this kind of like, ooh, everything online is so great. I can change my life fully online. I can, quantum leap and achieve my dreams fully online. Like you absolutely can. But I also think it's like to a point, in the sense that there's nothing as healing, as transformative, as energy upgrading as community, as like touch, as being in real life with people. I've been to a few events just in the last kind of month and a half. Like finally events are coming back and it makes me just so happy. Oh, and for those of you that are like, when is your immersion going to come back? We do have a tentative date for next year, which is very exciting. So you guys will hear more about that later. But if you do know that you want to come, it's looking like it's going to be a 4-day immersion now for reasons which I'll know soon. But if you know that you want to come and you want to put a save the date in your calendar so that you don't like put anything else that weekend, send an email to Olivia or send a DM and then we'll tell you the dates for a little save the date. But anyway, so what I've noticed from going to these events for myself, but also from the other women and men in the room, is the most powerful thing isn't even just what we learn. It's not even just the long to-do list that I get of all the things to upgrade behind the scenes of the business or personally. It's not just the inspiration that comes through. It's the community. It's the fucking energy. It's literally the inspiration that I get. I feel that inspiration and I get the ideas. Like the ideas were already there, right? But it's like I couldn't access the ideas because sometimes you need a big energy shift, as we all know, to then access these certain ideas, because that big energy shift then allows you to feel inspired. Travel does it for a lot of people. The big energy shift allows you to feel inspired. And then from that inspiration, all these ideas start flooding in. And so all these ideas have started flooding in from these events, and like so much has been solidified, which just feels like so good. And that would not have happened had I not been in the room, had I not being in that expansive energy, had I not felt that energy of like everybody just cheering each other on, fully seeing each other, fully being there for each other. And just that community aspect, both online and offline, like community is just amazing. I'm part of a 7 and 8 figure like social club. Well, it's like a speakeasy social club, kind of like invite only. It's amazing, called Mason. The women in there are just like super high caliber. And, it's not even just what I learn when I jump on our monthly calls or when I'm in like chat and everything. It's just the energy. Like it's honestly the fucking energy. Like if somebody said to me, why did you join like the 7, 8 figure group? I would tell you it's the energy. Like literally that was the reason. And that was enough of a reason. Like, can that be enough of a reason? Like granted, also make sure like, the tangible outcomes. Like that's also good too. But sometimes we hold ourselves back from expansion because we need everything to be so logical. We need everything to be so logistical. We need it to quote unquote make sense. But let me tell you this. To crazy, wild, oh my God, how did that happen? How did I achieve that? Manifestations, do they make sense? No, they fucking don't. The fact that I was able to buy a multi-million-dollar house in Atlanta with no credit history, no citizenship, no permanent residency, no SSN at that time. Now I have one. Yep, all said all of them. Does that make sense? That I was able to buy this and I didn't just like I don't fully know how the whole like pay cash works. Someone was telling me about that later. Like they don't actually, when someone says like I paid cash for the whole house, apparently they don't actually mean they like actually paid cash the whole house. It's like a thing. It's like a thing they do at the bank. Anyway, whatever. I learned something new the other day and I can't even remember it. My point is like I didn't pay cash for the whole house. Well, then it was like, oh, whatever. Like, no, I paid the down payment. I have a mortgage, like blah, blah, blah. But does that make sense? Like literally no. To this day, my husband's like, I don't know how the fuck that happened. Like, I don't know how she manifested that. Did it make sense that like we literally found our dream house in less than a month? And when I said to my, boyfriend at the time, was it boyfriend at the time? Yeah. When I said to Hal at that time, like, nope, we're finding our house in August. It's happening. And he was like, I don't think that's a reasonable like manifestation, babe. Like, not meant to be. Literally not meant to be. Like, I'm not available for your reasonableness. Guess what happened? We found the fucking house. And now he's gotten to the point where he's like, yeah, don't argue with those ones because the crazier she sounds, the like literally the more realistic it is in the like universe or something, the more it happens. The more I play realistic, the less shit happens. I'm telling you. And I've manifested some wild things. So if you really want to expand your energy end of this year and also next year, get in the room. And for those of you that are like, okay, Monica, but I want to get in the room with you. So like, give me something in January. I'm giving you something sooner. I will be announcing it in the masterclass that I'm running where I'm talking about the 7 pillars to create your dream life. The link and everything for that is below. If you've been wanting to join her because you've missed out on the last 2 rounds, or if you have done one of the last 2 rounds and you're like, I'm ready to do it again, just like hold on to your panties, get fucking excited. I don't think I've ever been so lit up for an offering in my fucking life. And when I tell you that this is going to literally make next year the best year of your life that you've ever had, that's not an understatement. Like truly not. Me, my whole team, including my husband, are so excited for this. So if you want a little sneak peek, maybe we'll give it to you depending when you DM us if it's ready. Actually, it will be ready by the time this podcast episode goes out. But to wrap up, commitment to growth, like make a commitment to yourself that I am committed to my growth. And that doesn't just mean professional growth, like personal growth is also essential. Be willing to learn, be willing to evolve, be willing to grow, be willing to get outside of your comfort zone. And part of that growth is also looking at where am I holding myself back? All right, friends, we're going to wrap it up there. Make sure you sign up for the masterclass coming up. My New Year's Eve bundle is also coming back this year, and I'm doing it live because so many things have manifested this year and I want the energy to be in it. We're going to have a full Christmas setup. I literally think I'm going to do the call in front of the Christmas tree for the vibes. So you can already sign up for the wait list for the New Year's Eve bundle if you want to make sure that you don't miss it and you get it at the discounted rate for early bird too. We'll put the link for that below. Oh my God, there's just so much goodness coming to wrap up this year. And holy shit, we are going to be finishing off 2024 with a fucking bang. All right, I'll see you guys in the next episode.